Because you alluded to the problem of neoliberalism, the effects that it has on the working class. It keeps us in a perpetual loop, incapable of breaking free to actually stand in solidarity with other people. And then I also reminded of the debate with Michael Eric Dyson, where it actually had some spillover into the fact that none of our hands are clean.
Right.
That most of us find. Matter of fact, I find myself on a daily basis in a space that is the quintessential example of neoliberalism.
Yeah.
So we're stuck in this quagmire. What I want to ask is something that I've been thinking on for a little while now, and it has nothing to do with the debate in general, but kind of philosophically, political philosophy. How much of the problem that we oppose when we oppose neoliberalism, how much of that problem is not just systemic, but inescapable? And when I say inescapable, I don't mean inevitable, but when people realize what it would really mean to tear down neoliberalism, or even more clear, a better example, if to tear down or to end America's empire abroad and this forceful hand that we use to bring quote unquote peace, or at a minimum, we bring a stability that's familiar to America and familiar to our companies to be able to go and spread globalism and capitalism abroad. But if we
Hmm.
really consider the cost of ending that, would people like you and me and others who are critical of this system really be able to absorb what that really means and what that really looks like to end empire abroad, to bring an end or an adjustment to neoliberalism? It's a really big question, but I know you can handle.
Yes. It's a difficult question. I mean, look, there's no pure space from which to engage in this work, right? I mean, we're all implicated in this.
Hmm.
And Mike talked about Cory Booker blurbing my book being published by Crown, as an indication of my own complicity. And it's important for us to understand how we are all shaped and formed and find ourselves in the circuitry of neoliberalism, so that you can't be self-righteous in the critique, right? But that's like saying that, because we all sin, that we shouldn't critique sin, right? To put it in Christian
Yeah,
terms, right?
I had a little Christian jump right there. I felt that one, Doc. I
Right,
felt that.
right. I mean, that makes no sense. We're all sinners, so we shouldn't say anything about sin. That makes no sense to me,
Mm,
right? Part of what we have to do is put forward an ideal of the best set of arrangements, the best society that allows people not only to dream dreams, but to pursue those dreams,
mm,
to set that ideal and let it be the regulative ideal towards which we strive, understanding that we're going to fall short for a variety of reasons. Now, that said, it seems to me this is the point. There's nothing more comfortable than the familiar.
hmm
And in moments of crisis, in moments of deep fear, we often find ourselves running back to the comfort of the familiar. But if the familiar is wrought with all sorts of evils, and that's no other way to put it, Brother Ben,
mm,
if it's characterized by all sorts of evils, and we have an opportunity that emerges precisely because the crisis that has come to pass as a result of the contradictions of
hmm
capital. The contradictions of capital have made themselves manifest in such a way that it has given us an opportunity, an opening. I don't know, it may be fugitive, but it's an opening for us to do work. And in this moment, it requires of us the courage, the virtue of courage, to strike the blow for democratic change. But if we succumb to the vice of fear,
hmm
then business as usual is secure. Now, that said, it requires all prophetic action is based on an imaginative leap to see the as yet in relation to the horrors of now. And that
mm,
means we have to take that leap. And if we don't, then we seal our fates.
mm,
Now, that's not saying that you and I are comfortable, that the world that we live in, for the world that my child has become an adult in and is living in, that the instability that shift, that transformation will bring won't be unsettling, be won't make us afraid, but we do it in the name of a better world. And what people who are committed, I'm sorry to go on so long
No,
here,
go for it.
but people who are committed to the status quo, folks who are committed to the current arrangements that exploit and abuse everyday ordinary people, they are banking their all that you and I and others are too afraid to take the leap. Mm. That we are too afraid to imagine otherwise. And so if we don't embrace the democratic virtue of courage in a moment of possibility, then we succumb to the vice of fear. And I reject that wholeheartedly.
So I think that this is perfect timing with the question that just came from our chat room on YouTube. What if that destruction or that reversal or moderation of neoliberalism was dependent upon someone actually let me start that over again. What if achieving the goal of correcting the problems of neoliberalism was dependent upon us keeping Hillary Clinton out of office and using this exact Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump 2016 scenario? Some in the chat room, it's come that people believe that Hillary Clinton is the greater threat because she is the quintessential neoliberal in this election. What if, then that's a big what if, but what if keeping her out is actually part of the solution?
Well, that only holds if we don't understand the power of our organizing. Right. So if one could say, if one is concerned really about, if we're all concerned about the working poor and the most vulnerable, the most marginal, that Donald Trump poses a particular kind of threat to their circumstance, that he poses a particular kind of threat to the world. And we can say at the same time that we make that claim, that so does Hillary Clinton, insofar as she represents the status quo, that so far she represents business as usual. But if we're organizing, right, and mobilizing, then we can put, how can James Baldwin, and I'm paraphrasing him here, says that his vote is kind of like a stopgap measure, right, just to buy me some time, right, in some ways, that we can actually organize and mobilize to bring pressure to bear, to continue to bring pressure to bear on the current state of affairs. So I'm not of the belief that if we elect her, right, it will seal our fates. And I'm not of the belief that if we elect Donald Trump, right, it's the apocalypse. What I'm more interested in is what we're doing.
Right.
What we're doing in the context of this election cycle. And that to me means that we're cultivating a radical democratic vision among the demos, right? And we're doing that through the election cycle because it garners all this attention at this point. Now, look, let me say this really quickly, Ben. I'm very much aware that it's on the Democrats' watch that the crime bill was passed. It's on the Democrats' watch that welfare reform was passed. It's on the Democrats' watch that they dismantled Glass-Steagall. It's on the Democrats. I mean, we can just go on and on and on, right? And I think Tom Frank has made a compelling argument.
Absolutely.
About the state of the current state of the Democratic Party. We know that. That's why we have to organize and mobilize, and that's why we can't buy into this nonsense that people are trying to sell about her as some progressive champion.
Mm-hmm.